Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, get together with us to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good things. And I'm super happy to be joined today by the one and the only, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, John. It's great to be here today on it's Hump Day.
That's right. It is Hump Day, reminding me, of course, of the Geico commercial. And joining us also, back from San Francisco, sporting a new do, is Ashley Whalen. Ashley, how you looking? Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling refreshed after a great weekend up in NorCal with my sister. I was at a film festival all weekend, so I got to see a lot of great films, a lot of independent thrillers, and really good stuff up there. And then had some meetings with agencies. It was awesome. I'm happy to be back, though.
Well, it's good to have you here. And guys, we've got a whole bunch of main topics to get to today. But before we do, we've got a couple issues to get to off the top. Starting with this. Back in 2017, a little film came out that a lot of people were kind of excited about called The Hit Mans Bodyguard, of course, with Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds. It was a nice little film. Wasn't the best film in the world, but it was funny and had some good action. It was a nice, entertaining little movie. And then they announced a little while ago that they were, of course, making a sequel called The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. And they put out their first official picture of the cast together on set. They're shooting the movie right now. Ryan Reynolds, of course, has blood on his face, which is great. So we got Ryan Reynolds in there, Samuel L. Jackson. I still do not believe at all that that is a 71-year-old man. I just do not buy that that is a 71-year-old man. That is crazy. And, of course, the Hitman's wife, Salma Hayek, is in there well, of course, reprising her role from the first film as well. Nice little candid behind-the-scenes shot. Ryan Reynolds looks really cool and everything. So, Rob, did you have a chance to see The Hitman's Bodyguard when it was out in theaters?
I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it on an airplane, and I loved it.
Right.
I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, I liked that film. I thought it was really nice.
It was really fun. I mean, it was like a throwback to an 80s, buddy cop action. It was like 48 Hours and things like that. I mean, I really liked it a lot.
My one problem that I had with it, because the humor was there, good fun action, the story and the narrative path and all that kind of stuff, it could have been better. It's what kept it from being like a must-see movie of the year kind of thing, but it was fun. It was light. It was entertaining. I know you liked the first one, but did you all at all feel like a need for a sequel? Are you looking forward to a sequel?
I thought the first one was really fun. I mean, I liked their energy. I liked how they played off each other. Salma Hayek was hilarious. So it's like, I think of all the movies that get sequels, we could do worse than get this one. I'm looking forward to it.
They've got to put that on a poster. Of all the sequels we could get, we could do worse. Robert Meyer Burnett.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. All right, let's move on to a second topic here right off the top, which I thought was rather interesting. Everybody at one point or another has seen Sesame Street. Well, I guess Warner Brothers is banking on the fact of having a huge nostalgia factor, as well as the fact that it's still an ongoing program. And they've announced that they're going to make, Robert, a live-action Sesame Street movie. Not that Sesame Street isn't live action anyway, for the most part. But they are doing a Sesame Street movie coming out in 2021. You heard about this. What's your first reaction to this?
After Detective Pikachu, I think they can make a movie about just about anything these days. And, it's interesting because Sesame Street is half live action already.
Yeah.
As long as Mr. Snuffleupagus is in it, I'm in. I'll go. But are they going to are Bert and Ernie going to be real people? Or are they going to be puppets that interact with real people? That's
what I was wondering when they said live action. I mean, technically speaking, the Muppets is live action. But they're puppets. They're not animated. When they say live action, well, wait a minute. Sesame Street already is live action. So it's just that you have puppets, but that's technically live action. Does that mean you're going to get characters to play Bert and Ernie? I got to believe they're not going to do that, because wouldn't that just be contradict and confuse things between the movie and the show? And wouldn't they be putting out a movie and have a show to try to help self-promote one another? Would that make sense for them to do actors?
The Muppet movies are live action.
Right, but they don't get a human actor to play Kermit.
Right. Or Miss Piggy.
or or Miss Piggy for that matter. So I got to imagine it's going to have the puppets. I have to imagine it's going to have the puppets, and they'll just kind of work out some kind of story. Like, I also have to assume that they're not going to do just an elongated episode of Sesame Street. I have to imagine if you're going to make a film, it's got to be, I don't know, Mr. Hooper's grandson comes back to take over the old store. That's when I was a child watching Sesame Street, it was Mr. Hooper.
Yeah, I remember Mr. Hooper.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away a few years ago, of course. But I mean, did you used to watch this as a kid, Ashley, when it was on? Like, when it was on,
Oh,
it
of
was
course.
still going.
Yeah, I was a Sesame Street regular. Yeah, sure, for sure. But so you're saying that they might make a film and people might dress up like the Broadway play Cats or something? That's a possibility.
I got to imagine no. Like, I'm not seeing anybody saying that they're going to do that, but it's just interesting that they're specifically referring to it as live action when Sesame Street has always been live action.
Right.
Other than a few little animated vignettes, but I mean, that's pretty much it. But I fully anticipate we're going to just see the puppet characters. I got to assume that's all we're going to get. All right. Let's move on now, guys, to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. See, you guys pick them out by sending us your topics and questions anytime by going to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once again, that's www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. There, you'll find a form. Just fill it out, hit submit, and maybe you will see your question pop up here on the John Campea Show. With that down and out of the way, Ashley, what is our first email today?
First up is from Adam Ricketts. Hello, greetings from sunny Florida. So after the Aladdin trailer dropped yesterday, I looked online and saw that Alan Tudyk has been cast as Iago. I know a lot of people would have loved to see Gilbert Gottfried back and are probably disappointed. What do you guys think of this casting? Thanks.
I love the casting because Alan Tudyk has, first of all, I think he's a treasure. I think the dude's an absolute treasure. Like, whether he's in something like Firefly or whether he's something, I love him as Van Wayne in the now canceled show Powerless that was on. A lot of you guys never saw this. It's a show that takes place in the DC universe, not the actual DCEU, but takes place in a DC universe. It's kind of like, it's a comedy of these people with no powers who work in like an office building tech in a world where superheroes exist. And Alan plays Van Wayne, Bruce Wayne's moronic cousin. And he's like a vice president at Wayne Industries and all that kind of stuff. I love him in that role. But listen, he has very quietly gone on to start to amass a really large voice acting resume, including Disney seems to put him in everything now. Because just look, him being in Aladdin now is no big surprise because look at this relationship between Tudyk and Disney. He was in, of course, he was the voice of King Candy in Wreck-It Ralph. He was the Duke of Wesselton in Frozen. So in Zootopia, they made him the Duke of Weaselton. Big Hero 6, he was Alistair. In Moana, he was the chicken Hey Hey, which was, why did you get Alan to play that? I don't know, but they did. Of course, he's one of his best voice acting things that I've loved him in is he was the voice of K2SO in Star Wars Rogue One. And then again, he was in Wreck-It Ralph again, but not as King Candy. This time he was Knowsmore, the search engine guy. So Disney has just gotten into this habit of putting him in everything, which I think is great. Now, a lot of people love this guy, but there are going to be people out there who are like, well, I mean, why didn't you just get Gilbert Gottfried back? Why not go out and get Gilbert Gottfried? I mean, you got, James Earl Jones to be Mufasa again, sure, but this isn't the live action movie. So look, would I have been tickled had they gone out and got Gilbert Gottfried to do the voice of Iago again? Yes. I would have thought that was great. But if you're redoing the movie, then redo the movie. So I have no problem with them not going in that direction. And I think it's completely fine that they don't. Anyway, Robert, you heard about this. You got Alan Tudyk doing the voice of Iago. You like this move, or do you think maybe they should have gone in another direction?
No, I think it's great. And like you said, he's obviously beloved, and I love his voice acting. So I think it's, it's a natural fit. Maybe they wanted to keep some distance. I don't know. Who knows who makes these decisions or why they're made? But I think that why not work with somebody that you have a long history with who's always delivered the goods?
And I think you started to touch on something there that I think was actually a really good point. And that's the fact that, Gilbert Gottfried, as great as he is, and I think he's hilarious, the fact of the matter is he's also had some controversy over the last number of years. He is when he's really on, he's a very profane comic. And maybe there is something about that. I mean, but at the bottom line, they replaced everybody. They didn't go out and get anybody to reprise roles from the old films. So it's not like they have to have a reason to not go back to Gilbert Gottfried because they weren't bringing back anybody. I think instead you would have had to have had an overwhelming reason why you do go out and get Gilbert Gottfried and not anybody else. So I'm perfectly fine with this. I think it's perfectly good. All right, let's move on now to the next email today. Ashley, what's next?
Next is Michael Perez. Hey, John, keep up the awesome work. So Noah Hawley has met with Kevin Feige about the possibility of making a Doctor Doom movie. However, nothing is imminent. My question is, do you think Kevin Feige will let this project happen? And what are the possibilities of solo movies for Gambit and other Marvel characters happening once the Disney-Fox merger happens?
Okay, so just so you guys know what Michael's specifically talking about, as you guys all know, Doctor Doom, Fantastic Four, X-Men, all that stuff is under the purview of Fox. The Fox and Disney deal is finally closing next week on the 20th. So that's when it closes. So what has happened here is Noah Hawley, who is, of course, he's the showrunner of Fargo, but he's also the creator and showrunner of Legion, right? And he made a stir at Comic-Con a while back when he let everybody know, I'm developing a Doctor Doom movie. And everybody freaked out because everybody seems to love Legion. And it's like, this guy is making a Doctor Doom movie and everybody lost their mind. Now, then it all went completely silent. Now, of course, the merger of Fox by Disney has probably thrown a bit of a wrench in that stuff. And basically, they went on to tell the story in a recent interview. Noah went on to tell the story that he has indeed met with Kevin Feige. And in that meeting, Feige specifically asked him, hey, are you still working on Doctor Doom? Noah said to him, yeah, you should read it, and apparently sent him something and has not heard back from Feige after that. So he sent him the script. He said, oh, yeah, you should read it and send him a script, but he's not heard back. Now, he goes on to say this. I would love to make it. This is Noah Hawley saying, I would love to make Doctor Doom. Marvel, they've got a 25,000-year plan. I just don't know if I fit into it. Now, I'm sure that comes from being a little bit discouraged by the fact that, he's said, hey, Kevin, you should read the script. And Kevin never got back to him after that. I'm sure that's a little bit discouraging. But Robert, I would suggest this. I would suggest that Kevin Feige, let's take whether he's interested in Doctor Doom or not out of it for a second. Kevin Feige, and I've been trying to tell people this all year, even if Kevin Feige is dying to make a Doctor Doom movie, Noah should not be discouraged by him not getting back to him because he can't get back to him. I have been trying to tell people this all year. Kevin Feige can't do anything with the Fox stuff until this deal is closed. If he did anything with the Fox stuff, if he started taking scripts that were written and that's called collusion. That could be seen by the government overseers on this whole thing and giving all the approvals as acting in bad faith. Kevin Feige has had to stay an arm's length away from anything involving Fox until the deal is closed.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, if it came out now that Kevin Feige was doing a little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff, talking to them, working stuff out anyway, that could throw up red flags, and you'd be jeopardizing a $71 billion deal for what? A Doctor Doom movie? You're going to put that whole thing at risk for that? So if I was talking to Noah Hawley, I'd say, hey, man, don't read anything into the fact that Kevin Feige hasn't gotten back to you yet because he can't. He can't. He can't do anything that looks like he's doing things inappropriately. And I bet you that once March 20th comes and goes, Kevin Feige and Noah are going to have a phone call. Now, maybe it'll be Kevin saying, hey, man, I read your script and it's shit. Or maybe it's, man, I love the idea of doing a Doctor, whatever. I guarantee you Kevin Feige and Noah Hawley are going to be having another conversation after the 20th. But up until now, there's nothing that can be said there. And I'll tell you what else, Robert. I think... Now, I'm usually the one trying to caution everybody on the whole excitement. Oh, put this guy in a movie and put this guy in a movie. But I'll tell you what, I think Doctor Doom, even in the current state of the MCU, I think this is a villain that fits beautifully into the tapestry of the MCU right now. I think this is a character and a villain that they could take and utilize in a number of different properties. You don't just have to use Doctor Doom in a Fantastic Four. Hell, there are some classic stories in the comics with Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom. You can put Doctor Doom with Black Panther. You can put he's just such a versatile character that you can leverage and use. I think Kevin's going to be very interested in getting some discussions going about Doctor Doom quickly. But I don't know, Rob, you heard about all this. What's your impressions of it?
Well, I think you're dead on. I mean, they can't, that's why they haven't said anything. Marvel can't say anything about what they're planning to do because of how you laid it out. I mean, that is collusion, that they can't have any, this is such a giant deal. They don't want any whiff of impropriety of any kind. But look, Doctor Doom is the Lex Luthor of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's the number one villain, but he is only a human being. You know, he's leader of his country. He's somebody that can be menacing to the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe for years and if not decades to come. So how they're going to handle him is going to be, they're going to handle him very, very carefully, and they're going to bring him into the MCU, I think, in a big, spectacular way. And Noah Hawley was doing some kind of a one-off. I mean, as we all know from what happened to, say, the original Ant-Man, I mean, when you have to start thinking in terms of their entire tapestry rather than doing a movie about one guy. It just doesn't work that way anymore. How is this all going to fit in? How are they going to make it work?
What do you think about my assessment, though, that I think that this is a character that you could take and almost plug in anywhere in the MCU almost right away? Do you think that?
Totally agree.
I totally agree.
Totally agree with you, because Doctor Doom has confronted almost everyone in the MCU. I mean, he's like I said, he's their big bad, and he's the granddaddy. Why we have cosmic. Oh, sorry.
I was going to ask you, what was the? I'm forgetting the name. There's this classic comic story where Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom kind of like becomes the apprentice to Doctor Strange, and they try to get, I think, his mother out of hell or something like that. Oh, it's a classic one, and I'm freezing on it. Anyway, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What were you going to be saying there?
Well, no, I mean, like I was going to say that he's interacted with just about every hero in the Marvel Universe at some point, and like you said, you could plug him in anywhere. And he could, like you said, team up with Doctor Strange if he needed to. Right. He's done that before as well. So I think, look, Doctor Doom is so closely associated, though, with the Fantastic Four that they'll probably, I would imagine, introduce them together. Like we've seen it happen. Doctor Doom has not been well served in the movies so far.
But do you think that could give him some pause? The fact that we've seen Doctor Doom with the Fantastic Four in all of the failed Fantastic Fours, do you think that might give Kevin Feige some pause about maybe going back to that well again? Or do you think it just makes it all the more important to go back and do that again?
No, I think it makes it all the more important. I mean, they know that Doctor Doom is such a staple of the Marvel Universe that it's got to be handled really, really well. And everybody wants to see a great Doctor Doom. I mean, imagine the casting for the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been so spot on. I can't even imagine who's going to play Doctor Doom, who's going to be Victor Von Doom. I don't know, but it'll be great, whoever they pick. I'm looking forward to it however they do it, because I love Doctor Doom.
Yeah, if they use him right. They use him right. All right, let's move on now to the next email of the day. Ashley, what's up next?
Next one is from Phil Haventhaw. Hey, John, I read today that Captain Marvel has already passed $500 million at the box office and now has officially pushed the Marvel Cinematic Universe box office total to over $18 billion. It's a number so big, it's hard to wrap our heads around. I was wondering if you and Robert could put that milestone into perspective for us.
It's funny. We're so used to these days hearing the $1 billion club and this billion that we stop appreciating that letter B in front of the billion mark. We stop appreciating that for what it really is and represents. For this cinematic universe, well, I guess first let's start with Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel has already crossed 500 million worldwide, which is nuts. There were many people out there who thought it was going to lose money. It's already well profitable and heading well on its way to being a huge overall hit. And that's good. But the bigger story here, in context, is the fact that with 21 movies, this franchise has crossed the $18 billion mark, which seems almost ludicrous and stupid. But when you think about it, the MCU has 6 films in the $1 billion club, and one of the very, very exclusive members of the $2 billion club. So in the $1 billion club, you got Avengers Infinity War, the original Avengers, Age of Ultron, Black Panther, Iron Man 3, and Captain America Civil War. You have 6 films in your franchise in the $1 billion club, which is ludicrous. And 18 billion overall? Like, there are directors and studios and filmmakers that would kill their own mother to have a film make 500 million at the box office. To make 500 million at the box office. You're talking about on average, this thing is making what, 700 million per film? Is that I'll have to do the math in my head later, but this is ridiculous and nutty. You cannot overstate what's the best way to put this, Rob? You cannot overstate.
It's unprecedented. There's never been this kind of success in Hollywood on this scale ever. There's nothing that even comes close to this. And if you look at a lot of the other movies that didn't hit $1 billion, I mean, you're looking at a lot of members of the $800 million club. Yeah. $700 million club. The early MCU movies, were made less money because they were new, but what they've built, it's just been it's skyrocketing. And by the way, Captain Marvel's success, I called it.
Well, yes, you did. Now, hold on to your horses there, Rob. Captain Marvel has not crossed any $1 billion mark yet.
But it made $11 million on Monday, and that's pretty snazzy.
Yeah, that's kind of, it's for a Monday. On a Monday, it made, which is nuts. I mean, that's more than Aquaman made on its first Monday, and Aquaman's huge and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, let me give you your moment in the sun here, Robert. While I was insisting that this movie was going to come in between 90 and 100 million on opening weekend, you called 150. It came in at 153. So take your moment, Robert. The spotlight is on you.
Gloat. I'm not a
gloater. For you, Robert.
but what's really interesting is they're anticipating a $70 million second weekend, and with the midweek dollars the way that they are, we could be looking at the movie crossing 300 million domestic by next Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what that second weekend drop off is, because it should be somewhere. I'm guessing around the 60% drop off mark. When you have a movie that opens this big, you generally get bigger drop off. So I'm expecting anywhere between like a 58 and a 65% drop off, which would be solid for this. And you're right, would put it well on its way to getting that 300 million domestically. How does it continue to perform overseas? Who knows? We'll find out soon enough, I'm sure. But yeah, you cannot understate the success that Captain Marvel's had so far. But the bigger picture here is this $18 billion mark, and it's the $20 billion elusive, impossible mark to reach. Its days are numbered, because I'm going to tell you what, the next movie that comes out in the MCU is going to push the MCU over $20 billion. Like, even if Endgame doesn't make $2 billion, Captain Marvel is going to put it far enough over 18 billion that 20 billion is just going to become a matter of Endgame needing to make 1.7, maybe 1.8. And while I'm a little bit cautious to say that Endgame will hit the 2 billion. I think it's certainly likely, but it's possible that it won't. But there's no way that the MCU doesn't cross 20 billion. And then Robert, what do you do with a number like that? What do you do when this series is making 20 billion?
What's interesting is after Far From Home comes out, they'll have 23 movies. And 23 movies, and if you cross 20 billion, that means, I mean, if you average that out, that's you're closing in on all of those movies. It's just staggering that all of these movies could average out to end up making. I mean, they wouldn't have grossed, but in the average, within the long run, can you imagine 23 movies and they could be $21 billion possibly.
It will be at 21 because I'm telling you what, after Endgame, you're going to get at 20 something. It's going to be 20 billion plus. And then Spider-Man Far From Home, I think, has a shot at joining the $1 billion club. I mean, but even if it comes in at like 900 million, 850 million, like Spider-Man Homecoming did, even if it just comes in there, you're now talking, after 23 movies, $21 billion. That's just idiotic. I mean, that's just ridiculous, that type of number.
But also, you can't sustain that. You know, eventually somebody there, you know, it's like, look, I read comic books for 30 years. I went every Wednesday and bought comics. And then it got to the point where I'm like, I buy the omnibuses now, but the stories, superhero stories, just get ultimately repetitive because by definition, there's only so many stories that you can tell. And I really reached a point where I still enjoy comics a lot, and I love getting the omnibuses and things like that and the significant stories. But, you know, following weekly or monthly comic books now is I only buy the significant stories because I've read them all. They repeat, and you see the cycles in the storytelling, and how can they sustain this? I mean, they're shareholders. There's got to be enormous pressure from the people upstairs on Marvel and Kevin Feige, but this kind of success is unsustainable, and I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, I mean, look, the one things that Marvel has done really well is, and we talked a lot about it with Winter Soldier, Ant-Man things, they keep mixing up the genres. You know, they never just put out, or at least only rarely do they put out just standard comic book movie. They've started playing around with getting into the mysticism with Doctor Strange, the political intrigue stuff of a Winter Soldier, a heist kind of film with a Ant-Man, a comedy kind of route with Thor Ragnarok. I mean, so it's going to stretch it out. Is it sustainable for 50 years? No, but no franchise is. You know, no franchise is. I mean, you can even say Bond has kind of done this a little bit. So yeah, at some point it's going to run out of room. But 23 films at $21 billion, you're averaging nearly $1 billion a film. I guess it's just, oh God, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous at this point. Okay, Ashley, what is our next email today?
He's just gonna have to buy an island and make his own actual Marvel Universe island.
He's going to be able to do that at some point.
Crazy. All right. Next one is from Evelyn J. Hi, John. So I was reading an interview of Rupert Wyatt, who was once signed to direct Gambit, saying the flop of Fantastic Four killed the Channing Tatum movie. But it got me thinking that with the Fox Disney deal ready next year, could it be more of a blessing for Tatum that the film never happened before? Because now they could do a movie with him, who very much like Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool is his passion project, now with Kevin Feige behind it. Love the show.
Thanks so much, Evelyn. And for those of you who don't know what Evelyn's talking about, and this is really the headline here, is we had heard before that we've known for a while they've been trying to get a Gambit movie. They've been trying to get a Gambit movie, and they had the Rise of the Planet of the Apes director, Rupert Wyatt, on there to direct it. Now, the official word at the time was changes to the script caused the budget to inflate, and that's what killed the Gambit movie at the time. Well, Rupert Wyatt just was talking about this situation, and he paints a very, very different picture of what happened to the Gambit movie. And apparently what killed Gambit was Fantastic Four. Now, here's what he had to say. He said, we were close. Like, they were just going to be shooting like 2 months. They were 2 months to start shooting Gambit. We were close. I believe 10 weeks away. It simply came down to budget. There was not enough. You know all too well about the politics of the business. Fantastic Four had been released by Fox a month before and had not gone well for them. So our budget was slashed quite considerably. The inevitable, from my perspective, was, well then, we need to rewrite the script to tailor it to our new budget. But we were too close to a start date for Fox to really want to go there, so unfortunately, it just simply didn't work out. So the news story that we're getting on what happened with Gambit, they were within 2 months, or almost 2 months of starting to shoot. And then Fantastic Four was a fantastic flop, and it probably cost them a lot of money. And that's Fox's own problem. That's their doing. That's their fault. But at any rate, so that flopped. So they were like, ooh, and they got scared. They got scared. And they're like, oh, well, let's change everything about this. They acted very much in a way Warner Brothers used to act with DC. Oh, react, right? Even though they were just within a couple of months of shooting this new movie, they're like, okay, slash the budget. And it's like, okay, well, we can't make this movie for the budget you want us to make it with, so we need to rewrite it. Nope, you got to start shooting when we're supposed to start shooting. Okay, then, and he's gone. And that killed the whole project. Now, as far as the email part about asking about, isn't this a good thing, like now that Kevin Feige can come in and do it, I don't think Kevin Feige is going to have any interest in a Gambit movie. I know I'm not basing that on anything, Rob. I'm not basing that on any, insider knowledge or any inside baseball stuff. But it just strikes me that that picture that they were painting with a Gambit movie, which I was curious to see, it doesn't sound like something that Kevin Feige would be interested in. So let's go back to the beginning of this, Rob. Number one, you hear this story about like what happened to it. What are your thoughts on that? And what do you think the future of a Gambit could be?
Well, I mean, look, Gambit is a ladder. He's an X-Men character that was introduced in the X-Men 266, I think. I mean, he's not like one of the core X-Men characters. They're going to concentrate on their marquee characters before they're ever going to get around to Gambit. I mean, Gambit is a secondary X-Men character at best, and I think the odds are little to none. I mean, they're going to they've got to figure out how they're going to bring mutants even into the X-Men universe or into the MCU. How are they going to bring that? We don't know. It's going to be fascinating to see what they do, but I don't see Gambit happening anytime soon. Heck, where's the new Mutants movie, John? They shot that.
Where are the New Mutants? Indeed. I mean, we for those of you who don't know, like we were talking about the New Mutants here just a little while ago, and that's the fact that it looks like that thing may go straight to home video now. Like they were supposed to do reshoots in November. They haven't even done the reshoots on this stuff yet. But let me ask you, Ashley, do you have any interest in a Gambit movie? Is this something that, like, as somebody who's not like the hardcore comic book movie fan, is that something that would appeal to you with a Channing Tatum attached?
Well, I do love Shannon, but probably not. I don't know. Honestly, no.
Yeah, and that's the thing right there. I don't get that sense from a lot of average moviegoers that they'd want a Gambit. Now, there's going to be fans of the old X-Men cartoon. I used to love that cartoon. Anyway, that would love to see Gambit. They want to see the Gambit Rogue romance. We've been dying to see it for a long time, but
yeah.
I got a feeling if Kevin Feige is going to do Gambit, I don't think it's going to be the Channing Tatum version. I think they're going to go in a different direction. But we will have to wait and see. And who knows? Depending on the contracts that have been signed, maybe they can't do a Gambit without Channing Tatum at this point. I mean, we just don't know. But those, whatever contracts those were, they're still legally binding. Because when Disney takes over Fox, they also inherit any obligations to any contracts. They inherit those too. So maybe there's more to this than we understand right now. We're just going to have to wait and see how this all plays out. Okay. With that down, Ashley, what is the final email today?
Last one up is from Neil Parker. Greetings, crew. I'm a big fan of the Jumanji movie The Rock did, and I was happy to see they're making a new one. I just saw today that they put out a picture of the cast back together on set, and it gave me the biggest smile. I know the last one sort of overperformed, but do you think the new Jumanji could hit the $1 billion club? The last one came so close. Thanks.
It came ridiculously close. Nobody thought this movie was going to make over 900 million. I mean, a lot of people thought it could be successful, like right. 400 million, 450 million, maybe even 500 million. I mean, a lot of people thought it could be successful, but even the studio never dreamed that this Jumanji movie was going to come within a whiff of $1 billion. It was like, I think 930 something. It could have been close to that, but it came close. It came damn close to joining that $1 billion club that nobody saw coming. Expectations are a little higher this time around because now they have had that success. But anyway, the picture he's referring to is right here. You can see it right here. What is great, now you would look at this picture and you'd be forgiven if you just thought this was a picture from the original film. Well, that's by design. These are video game characters who should look exactly the same. And you look at this and they look great. And I agree with you completely. I look at this picture and it just puts a grin on my face. And I'll tell you what, as soon as that first Jumanji movie ended, I was ready to turn around and walk back into a theater to watch another one. I had so much fun with that first one. It was way better than I was expecting it to be. And I think doing another one was great. And you're right, looking at this picture just puts a smile on my face. Rob, what did you think about that original Jumanji movie? And what do you think about, the fact that they're doing another one now?
I thought it was great. I mean, I was dubious when they were going to remake it, but the premise I thought was pretty damn funny. I thought the trailers were funny, and I'm like, okay. And the movie lived up to all of that. I mean, it absolutely delivered the goods and gave, I think, everybody, because who doesn't like Jumanji? I mean, everybody wanted this thing to be good, and it turned out to be great. And they had the perfect cast for it. And it didn't surprise me that I didn't expect it to make almost $1 billion, but it didn't surprise me that it was going to be a big hit, because it's delightful.
It's delightful. It's such a good way to put it. And it is delightful. And here's the thing, though. When you get characters like Kevin Hart, and you get a character like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and you get a character like Jack Black, and you really just let them shine. And that's really what this film did. Like, the first Jumanji just let The Rock really just be The Rock, and just let that natural charisma take over. They let Kevin Hart do what Kevin Hart always does, Kevin Hart, but they let him do it in a really kind of unleashed kind of way. And Jack Black to me was the all-star of it. He was the MVP of the movie, because the way he played a high school princess girl trapped in a man's body, I thought was amazing. And to me,
amazing.
They were all great in it. Karen Gillan is, of course, fantastic. Of course, we're going to see her as Nebula in Endgame here. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, very dynamic. Ash, did you ever see the first Jumanji movie? And if so, what did you think about it?
Yeah, I saw it. I thought it was great. I was kind of resistant to see it because I loved the first one, obviously. But it was hilarious. I was like, okay, I totally love this movie.
All right, guys. Well, listen, that will do it for all of the main topics today. And as we like to do here on the John Campea Show, we're going to take a little bit of time now and go over and take some of your live questions. So you guys have been firing a whole ton of them in. So Ashley, what is up first?
First one is by Odin's Beard. Nemesis is one of my favorite comics. Thank you for that, John. Any chances we could see it turned into a movie?
Oh, Nemesis is a great... For those of you who don't know what Nemesis is, it's basically... imagine Batman, but Batman was bad. A human guy who just wants to do evil. And he's got all the money and all the tech, and he's got all the fighting skills and blah, blah, and he just wants to do evil. And I was actually introduced to this comic, Robert, by John Schnepp actually introduced me to that comic. And I read it, and I could not put it down. It's just fantastic. So I've been continues to talk about it. You've read Nemesis. What do you think about it?
Oh, it's great. I mean, I think it's Mark Miller, or
Yes.
Millar, however you say. It's Mark, and I think is it part of the Netflix deal he made?
I don't know. That was something if it is.
I don't know. I mean, it might be. In which case, maybe we'll see it on Netflix, because, man, it would be so much fun to watch that movie if it ever gets made. I mean, it's really good.
And very violent.
It's so
very
violent.
bloody.
It's great.
Whew, yeah, it would be something to see. All right, what's next?
Apex Caliber. Galactus easy to put in EG black screen. I hunger.
No, you don't pull let's just force it in. Let's just shoehorn it in. You don't go, we could do just put Galactus in there. Really? You haven't thought about the character. You haven't planned anything out where you're going to go. You don't know what you're going to do with him yet, but just throw him in as a post-credit scene and back yourself into a corner. To me, that's just it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea, and Kevin Feige ain't about bad ideas. It ain't just,
nope.
It's simple. Just do this. But you have no idea what your plan is at this point. So you don't do that without your plan, and that ain't something Kevin Feige's going to do. So now, don't get me wrong, Rob, we talked about it yesterday. You do a post-credit scene where out of the darkness of space, you start to see the silhouette of Galactus with just this
That's what I'm hoping for, dude.
Happening in front of him. We're all going to lose our minds.
I want to see that.
If Feige isn't even calling back Noah Hawley about his script, if he's not even calling him back, he ain't going to put Galactus and Silver Surfer in this.
Dude, they got a month and a half. They can do anything. It's magic. It's Hollywood.
All right, what's next?
Ben Rayner, I got the fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell. One of my 2 favorite skits of SNL, that and I live in a van down by the river. What's yours?
Yeah, the cowbell skit is great. I mean, look, there's too many off the top of my head to think. Last year or 2 years ago, there was that alien abduction skit with Ryan Gosling. One of the funniest things I've ever seen in the history of SNL. Absolutely. And then you got to go, staying on the theme of Chris Farley, you got to go with the Chippendale dance-off with Chris Farley and Patrick Swayze. I mean, that's got to be the best. I don't know. So those are 2 that come to mind right away. What about for you, Rob?
You know, it's really old, and I want to say Steve Martin is in this script or in this skit. So it's really old, but it's like they all come out and they're looking at something, and all they say is, "What the hell is that?" And then like all the other actors and like, "What is that?" It's so stupid. They all just come out and say like they're looking at this thing, they don't know what it is, but they all say, "What the hell is that?" in a different way. And when I was a kid, I thought that was the funniest shit I'd ever seen.
Was it I think it was Steve Martin. When I think of Steve Martin SNL, wasn't he the one who did the Bassomatic? I think it was Steve. It was either Steve Martin or Chevy Chase, but I think it was Steve Martin. God, that Bassomatic was so. For those of you who don't know, it's like a blender, and he just literally, it's a blender, just regular blender. He calls it the Bassomatic, and he takes fit bass, just a big bass, and drops it in the blender, and is like some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen. Okay, anyway, we can go on with Saturday Night Live stuff forever. What's next?
I got to give one shout out, though, to Kristen Wiig, Tiny Hands. She's like,
oh,
know that
God,
one?
yeah. That
I
one
wanted
was
to do
really
that
good
for
too.
Halloween. She's like, I found a dead cat on the side of the road. Okay, anyway, Donaldo Martinez. I live for Costa Rica tomorrow for the next 2 weeks, but just wanted to send a quick hello. I love the show.
Oh, have a good time, Donaldo. I've always wanted to go to Costa Rica. I have never been. You've been there?
Oh,
Ash?
yeah. I've been all over Central and South America many times. I love it. I surf there and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, she surfs, Robert.
I've been to Belize.
A little bit.
Where's Belize?
Belize is it's on the east side of Central America. And it's I don't know if it borders Costa Rica, but I don't think so. But Belize
I've always wanted to go to Costa Rica.
Stunningly beautiful.
All right,
La
what's
Isla
next?
Bonita. That's what Madonna was singing about.
Oh, that's right. What's next?
I'm upset. Browns are actually Super Bowl contenders.
No, they're not. Let's just get that clear. I'm seeing these. Okay, so those of you who don't know what's going on, Odell Beckham Jr., the superstar wide receiver of the New York Giants, has been traded to the Cleveland Browns. That an already vastly improved Cleveland Browns. And I'm reading all these headlines on ESPN. These Browns are now Super Bowl contenders. No, they're not. Okay, this is a 48-player team league. One guy ain't going to turn you from a 500 team. It's not like the NBA where you got 5 guys on the court at once, where you take one mega superstar to a pretty good team, it can make them a title contender. That's not football. And let's not forget, Odell Beckham Jr. was on a team last year that went 3-15 or 3-14, whatever their final record was. So just having him won't do it. Does it vastly improve them? Yes. Does it give Baker Mayfield a new weapon? Yes, it does. Is it going to help? Absolutely. But just adding this guy is not going to make them a Super Bowl contender. Just get that nonsense out of here right now. It's not. No, they're not. They're not Super Bowl contenders. But they're going to be improved again. And they're going to be better. All right, what's next?
Apex Calibra. For F4 Phase 4, they were in a wormhole for 60 years.
Nah, I don't see them doing something like that. There's no point or reason to do something like that. They've kind of played that card with Captain America already. So there's no reason to do a man out of time thing again, Rob. Like I think they're just going to bring them up and say, hey, these are characters in the here and now. What do you think?
Yeah, I do too. And I think like they've got this formula now where if they're not going to do a standalone movie like Captain Marvel, but even with Captain Marvel, it was still a team up movie with Nick Fury, and we saw Coulson in it a little bit. They're gonna caress them into the universe, I think, by having them interact with someone else. I mean, Tony Stark was in Spider-Man Homecoming, obviously. And I think that that's how they'll bring the Fantastic Four into the Marvel Universe somehow.
All right. What's next?
Murray Reich saw The Kid, and it was pretty good. Ethan Hawke and Dane DeHaan performance was great. Overall, nice little Western.
I've been excited to see it because Dane DeHaan, and you got Chris Pratt playing the villain, so I've been excited to see it, but I've not had a chance to see it at this point. Rob, have you yet?
No, but I almost went and saw it yesterday, but now I think I'll go see it for sure.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Recon Man 85. Hey guys, pretty sure I read that they can still call him Captain Marvel. Just can't use it in marketing, so they changed it. Also, where should I share the Hot Toys collection photos?
Well, you can share a hot toy. Just you can send me an email to john@thejohncampeashow.com. You can send that picture in there. I'd love to see it. But no, pretty sure they cannot call him Cap. That settled lawsuits. There have been lawsuits over the years over that. They have officially changed his name. His name is no longer Captain Marvel. His name is Shazam. So I don't know where you read that they could still call him that, but they cannot. Rob, have you heard any different?
No. As far as I understand that, yes, they have to call him Shazam.
Right.
But again, I don't know.
But I'll tell you what, Weekend Man, I'd love to see that Hot Toys collection. So please, by all means, do send that in, because I would be very curious to see it. I can live vicariously through you guys because I don't allow myself to spend the money on them. So just let me live vicariously through you guys. All right. Just like I'm going to live vicariously through Ashley, who's traveling all over Central America, apparently. So Ashley, what is next?
I'm a big traveler. Jordan Solis. Oh, this is a great question. Who has a better year next year, Foles or Wentz?
I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be Foles. It's going to be Foles. Yeah. I'm not saying Foles is the better quarterback. I'm not necessarily saying that. But he's going into a team with the Jaguars that they really were just a quarterback away from being a elite level team. And there's a lot of teams who think they're just a quarterback away. They're not. They're way more than that. I believe the Jaguars truly were just a quarterback away from being not a guaranteed lock Super Bowl team, but definitely a contending team. And I think you're going to see that. Wentz is going to have a great year, but I think Foles will shine. You got a thought on that, Ashley? You seem very enthusiastic about this.
I'm just enthusiastic because I hope everyone knows out there that they are Eagles quarterbacks forever.
Yeah, well, we're both. Forever. Only one is now, and I'm sure Wentz is going to have a very good year for your Eagles. I'm sure he will, but they've got some holes they've got to plug. Because this was
injured.
Yeah, well, I mean, and let's see how that happens. He's not exactly the most durable guy. All right, what's next?
Yeah. Willow Yang, are there any Game of Thrones characters whose deaths will really devastate you in the upcoming season? I'm prepared to see everyone to die, I think.
The only one I can really think of is going to be Tyrion, and I think there's a good chance he dies. I think there's a good chance everybody dies. Like, I don't think there is not a character in this show that I can think of that I would go, nope, that character's not going to die. None. I don't think that about Jon Snow. I don't think that about the Mother of Dragons. I don't think that about the Queen on the Throne. I don't think that about any of them. I think they're all fair game, and any of them could die at any time. But the one that's going to hurt my heart the most will be if Tyrion dies, because it's not going to happen. I'd love to see him end up on the throne because he drinks and he knows things. So that's what I kind of think. Do you got a character that would particularly break your heart, Rob, if they die on the show?
Yeah, like you just said, Tyrion would bum me out because he's been through so much. And in terms of playing the Game of Thrones, Tyrion's done a pretty good job of it. I can't wait to see Cersei Lannister die. I want her gone.
Now watch, she ends up on the throne.
Yeah, I mean, that would be I would love that too, because what a great ending. She winds up on the throne, but she's just too irredeemably awful to. But you never know. In Game of Thrones, they never give you what you want. Jon Snow's died and come back from the dead already, so that doesn't bother me. But yeah, I think if Tyrion died, it would really bum me out.
You got one?
Because I want him to win. I want him to be sitting on the throne at the end.
Do you've got one, Ashley?
I would hate if Cersei died.
Come on.
So fun to hate, She's so fun to watch. If she died, I'd be like, I don't know.
Hey, come on. She's had some bad hands dealt to her, like with all of her children and it's
because she's an irredeemable human being. She deserves everything she gets.
Nah, she's just misunderstood. She's just misunderstood. I mean,
Shame,
I'd rather see Han die. I'd rather see Han die than her. So, anyway.
Man.
I mean,
just when I was over it.
She is having an affair with her brother and killed children and many people, but I don't want her to die. I love her.
I love the fact that we can have a conversation that includes the words, she's having an affair with her brother, and she's killed many children, but... I just love the fact that we can have that. That's amazing. All right, what's next?
Murray Rach. Rob and Ashley, have you seen the Good Boys trailer yet?
Have you seen it, Ashley?
No, I haven't, but I'll write it down and I will watch it.
Rob, have you had a chance to see it yet?
The Red Band trailer?
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Okay.
It's I love Superbad. I didn't think they could top it, but man, there's stuff in there that I thought was just hilarious.
Yes.
I can't wait to see it.
My favorite line, I won't give the context, Ashley, so it'll hit you, but my favorite line in context, how many husbands does she have? That's the best line in that trailer. Oh my God. Okay, anyway, what's next?
Okay, I'm going to watch it right after this. Darth Wayne 97 saw Widows. Great movie. Davis, DeBecky, and Kalua. Sorry, I don't. Were the three standouts for me. I recommend checking it out for anyone that haven't yet. 4 out of 5.
And Neeson, Farrell. It's a really solid movie. Now, I how do I put this properly? I was not as into it as I was hoping, because when I saw the promos for it and everything, and you look at the lineup, I was thinking this is a Best Picture contender. This movie's the best picture. I didn't think it was that good, but it is very, very solid. Do you have a chance to see it, Rob?
Yeah, I loved it. I have the Blu-ray.
Of course you do.
I thought it was a great crime thriller caper story. But yes, I didn't feel it was the best picture. But we need more of those movies. I miss movies like Widows, those hard-boiled crime thrillers. And I thought it was great. It was a powerhouse movie. It was brilliantly directed, and its performances were all great.
All right, let's move on here. What's next?
Yeah, I got to see that. Amin M. Which film do you think had more speculation theories leading up to it? Infinity War, The Last Jedi, or now with Endgame?
Look, there was a lot of speculation going into Infinity War for sure, and there's a bunch of speculation going into Endgame. But The Last Jedi, I mean, that everything was speculating about what was going to happen in that. Then there were so many different things to speculate about it, and Infinity War ended up being the better movie. But I think there was a lot more because there was speculation on everything, 18 different theories of every single little angle in it. I just have never seen anything like that. So I think there was a lot more speculation going on about The Last Jedi. What about you, Rob?
Well, there's I guess because I've watched all of the Endgame theory YouTube videos, I'd probably say Endgame, because I've never seen so many theories for a movie before. And because we had Infinity War, there's and they kind of set things up, and I think Endgame probably has the most that I've ever seen, because there was, like you said, a lot of speculation for Last Jedi, but man, people put a lot of time into making videos about their Endgame theories, and I think I've watched every one of them.
Near as many as The Last Jedi. I mean, because
I don't know.
With
Maybe Endgame, I just wasn't aware of them.
With Endgame, you have one basic. I mean, there's many other little ones, but the one basic thing, most of the Endgame theory stuff falls under one category. How does the snap get undone? I mean, a lot of it has to do with that one thing. With Last Jedi, there were multitudes of videos just on speculations about Kylo Ren. Then there were multiple videos on speculations of Rey. And then multiple times 10 about how they're bringing what's going on with Luke. And then all the speculations. And Snoke. And blah, blah.
I like Snoke theories.
Snoke theories are great. Who made that one shirt that says, your Snoke theory is stupid? I can't remember. One celebrity wore this shirt that says, your Snoke theory is stupid. But anyway, like, you literally had these plethoras of speculations videos for about 18 different topics, all out of the one movie. And again, Infinity War ended up being the better movie, but the amount of speculation going into, which I think ultimately led to a lot of people feeling very divided over the film, was because of that overwhelming speculation. And a lot of people didn't have their theories work out, but yeah, man, I got to go that. But there's certainly a lot of speculation about Endgame. I just find that most of it falls under just one or two categories. But I can't wait to find out about all of them. All right, what's next?
Soon. African Prince, Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, really worked really well for me. I thought she did a great job. Could have used more of her interactions with Maria, though.
That's the one tricky thing whenever you're talking about a movie, that even one that works, is that we should have had more of this or more of that, but then you're always playing the game of, okay, but what do you take out? Because you don't want, especially like an origin movie like this, to be too terribly long. So it's like, I want more of this. Okay, so you want more of the relationship with Maria. We wanted more of Fury with Goose, and we wanted a longer end battle scene. And okay, that's great, but what do you take out? What do you remove from the film at that point? It becomes very tricky. And I'm not saying I have the answers, because I certainly don't. That's why I don't make, $25 million a year. I just make 22. Wouldn't that be great? Anyway, but yeah, I agree. The Carol Danvers character, I think, was solid, especially once you saw what the context of the story was. I thought they played it great, and you saw gradually her personality emerge as she got a better handle on who she was. But anyway, yeah, like, is there anything you take out for that to see more of that? Because I did like that relationship, Rob. I like that relationship between her and her best friend. But I just don't know what you remove, or if there was a narrative purpose to put more in it. Do you?
No, I mean, it's funny. I've seen the movie, believe it or not, 3 times. And
you just went again yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And it's funny. I like it more and more because the first time you see these movies, you're looking at them for plot and how is this all going to fit in. And, I really liked the film quite a bit. And there's actually a lot going on in the movie. If you think about, you've got the relationship she has with Jude Law's character, you have the relationship she has with the Supreme Intelligence, then you have the relationship she has with Monica Rambeau, who, by the way, eventually in the Marvel Universe, she was Captain Marvel before Carol Danvers was. And then the relationship with Sam Jackson. I mean, there's so many. I think the movie for me really works because I love all the character-based stuff, and Talos, how Talos goes from being a bad guy to being a good guy, and it's really what
spoiler stuff, dude. Spoiler stuff.
I'm sorry. I guess since I've seen the movie 3 times, I feel that everybody else is.
Our apologies. Our apologies to everybody. Our apologies to everybody. Anyway,
sorry, everybody. But no, but I think that the movie is really rich as far as characterization goes, and I don't know what you'd take out. I mean, they've really done a great balancing act with everyone, and I thought it's the more I watch it, the more I just am aware that the movie has these great, and all of them affect Carol differently. All these relationships that she has, and it's really a story that an awakening of who she is, and I think it works really, really well. I really like Captain Marvel.
All right, let's move on.
Sorry.
Murray Reich. My friends and family have no time in their lives to watch a movie, but as soon as they saw the Aladdin trailer, they were like, we must see this damn thing.
We did the show yesterday, Rob, and I was not happy with the trailer. I don't like the trailer. I mean, it's the best one they've done, and there are good things about it. But overall, I didn't like the trailer. I know you weren't thrilled with the trailer either, but I was surprised to see how many people in our own chat boards was like, are you kidding? I really like this. And in the 24 hours since, people just seem to universally really like this trailer, which I'm happy for. That's great. I don't share that enthusiasm, but I'm really glad people are. But there does seem to be a little bit more of that same kind of phenomenon we saw with the Lion King trailer. People who don't even go to movies were like, saw the Lion King trailer, like, oh, I'm going to that. And now we've got like people kind of saying the same thing with this. Have you had a chance to watch the trailer more? Like, have your thoughts on the trailer changed at all since yesterday?
No, I mean, look, there's Aladdin is like Lion King and like The Little Mermaid and like Beauty and the Beast is one of the most beloved Disney animated films. And I think, people are going to go into Aladdin really wanting and hoping to love it. So by seeing it realized in live action, there is something very powerful and fun seeing these kinds of things. I mean, knowing that you're going to see the whole new world song, you're going to see flying carpets, you're going to see all of these things. And, there's so much goodwill toward this movie, I think. And, I wasn't blown away by it, neither were you, but I think there's a lot of people that just want this movie to be so good. And
I hope it is.
I do too. Me too. Yeah. I'm like,
All right, what's next?
They better have a sing-along situation in some theater, because right when you said A Whole New World, I just wanted to start going for
Well,
it.
it's funny. I felt the same way with the trailer. I'm like, I started singing with her. How will you not be able to not sing those songs?
Exactly. I think people might in the theater. Next one is from Nathan Oswald. One Titanic movie more people need to see is A Night to Remember. It focuses more on the crew and the ship, the Californian, that was only 6 miles away.
I am not aware of the film. I'm not. Do you know this film, Robert?
It's an old movie. I think it's like from the 40s. I think.
What? Yeah, I have not seen that one, but you've put it on my radar. That would be curious to see a thing about a boat that was close to them, like looking at that whole situation from another perspective. Nice pick out of that one, Nathan. All right, what's next?
Leslie Cunningham, you had us bring drugs to a effing playground?
Yep, that's from Good Boys. That's from the Good Boys trailer.
That line made me laugh out loud.
That kid is great. And by the way, it's because I know Ashley, you love Room. One of the main stars of this is Jacob Tremblay.
Cool.
Yes, so it's a very different character. So okay. Just brace yourself for when you go and watch the trailer for this. All right, what's next?
I can't wait. A spectator, do you think that just lessening the amount of mutants in the world would be a good way to explain why they haven't shown up yet in the MCU? What are the drawbacks of that idea?
I mean, that's certainly a possible idea, a spectator. The drawback, though, of it is this, and this is the big problem that they got to face, and I'm not pretending to know what the answer is, but the big problem they face and what that possible solution doesn't address is the notion that at the heart of the mythology of mutants in the X-Men world is that they live in a world that mutation and mutants is the big hot button political issue of the planet. And they live in a world that fears and hates them. And it's that kind of socio-political background that gives all the meat to the mythology of this literary world that the X-Men inhabit. To remove that entirely is problematic, and it might be unavoidable. I don't know how you address this. So while going, hey, there just aren't many mutants in the world. There's like, instead of several thousand mutants or tens of thousands of mutants, there's like 40 or something in the world, right? That solves one set of problems, but it doesn't address that big elephant in the room that I see as the major issue Kevin Feige's got to figure out a way around. And again, I don't know what the answer is, but is this the whole foundational mythology of what the X-Men are is pretty tricky. So I don't know, Rob, do you have any thoughts off the top of your head about how maybe they can navigate this?
No, and I've been thinking about it a lot actually because I'm a huge X-Men fan, and like you said, the X-Men have this long established history, and they were always part of the MCU. And when things like the Age of Apocalypse storyline, when reality was changed, or the House of M storyline where Scarlet Witch altered reality and changed everything. I mean, there's ways of doing that, but it would to me be unsatisfying because, like you said, the political bent of mutants, it's like in X-Men 2, they did that great moment where the parents say to the kid, well, haven't you tried not being a mutant?
Not being a mutant?
Which was a metaphor for a gay kid coming out to his parents, or not just mutation, but anybody who's different. And I mean, that's what the X-Men are a metaphor for, and they don't, by not having that foundational groundwork done in the MCU already, it's going to be tough. And I don't know how I haven't come up with a way myself, because I ponder this all the time because I'm a nerd, but how I would do it if I was in charge of the MCU, I'm like, I honestly don't know. Because like you've pointed out, Magneto being in a concentration camp and Charles Xavier, how do you create a modern Magneto and give him that kind of a backstory? Like, what is more than being a survivor of Auschwitz? I mean, it's not what kind of, you have to then pick another genocide, I guess, pick Rwanda or pick the Balkans. I mean, but it's weird. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, everybody just thinks, oh, it's no problem, just drop the X-Men. And it's like, it's a little more tricky than that, but we'll see. All right, what's next?
Zachary Buckler, just curious if you guys have watched The Order on Netflix. Interesting take on magic and werewolves, if you're into that kind of thing.
I am totally into that kind of thing, but I've never seen the show. Have you watched it, Rob?
The trailer. I watched the trailers. It looks good. I mean, I started seeing the trailers a couple months ago, and it looked good. I mean, but I haven't watched it. I haven't talked to anybody that's watched it.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that's watched it either, but I've heard. But I like magic and werewolves, so yeah,
Me
give it
too.
a shot. All right, what's next?
DC Patience, did you hear Detective Pikachu will be rated PG?
Yeah, that news actually came out about a week ago. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit surprised. I thought they would go PG-13 because just from the trailers, it looks like there's a decent amount of violence in it. You had, Pikachu going, "Get me the hell out of here," and all that kind of stuff. Like, I knew it wasn't going to be rated R, but the trailer looks to me like a PG-13 movie, but apparently it got the PG. Were you surprised by that, Rob?
No, I mean, they've got to keep it. I mean, ultimately, you can't make a Pokemon movie and not know that kids are going to go. They've got to make it family friendly. I mean, otherwise there would be a parental backlash. I mean, you got to be able to take the whole family to see that movie.
But I thought even just with the violence that we saw in the trailers, like I thought that looked enough to warrant a PG-13 to just let parents know, hey, there's a little bit some edgy stuff
That's
in here.
monster violence.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
Pokemon
And
violence.
animated monster violence. Yeah, maybe that's true. All right, what's next?
Abel Contreras, does DC recast if Amber Heard after Depp's lawsuit?
No, I don't think so. I mean, how much of what's in Johnny Depp's lawsuit is even real? Maybe all of it, maybe none of it. But I have a hard time believing they'll recast Amber Heard. I don't think so, particularly not in a counter lawsuit being filed by somebody who's at war with this person and is. No, I don't think so. Not unless a lot more stuff comes to light. But at this point, I don't think so. All right, what's next?
Apex, YouTuber is mocking Captain Marvel's 72% drop Monday, probably for Captain Marvel.
It is not a problem for Captain Marvel. Look, of the four or five biggest Marvel movies in history, you're talking Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Age of Ultron, the original Avengers, Captain America Civil War, all of them took between a 65 and a 74% drop on the Monday. The Monday is the first Monday. So Captain Marvel taking a 71% drop on the Monday, that's standard operating procedure for the Marvel films. Like I said, like Captain America Civil War, I believe, had a 74% drop. That movie went on to make over $1 billion. Age of Ultron, which is like the third biggest comic book film box office-wise in history, took like a 73% drop on its Monday. Infinity War took a 65% drop on its Monday. It's the Monday.
Well,
but
it's also...
no, go ahead.
It's not a weekend. I mean,
no,
people
it's
go
the
back
first
to work.
Monday. It's a Monday.
It's like it's not the fact that it did $11 million on Monday is extraordinary.
School is in. People are working. It's not a holiday. It's Monday. And again, I just point to the biggest Marvel films of all time. Other than Black Panther, Black Panther is one of the top five, is the only one in the top five that took less than a 65% drop. So there's that one. But all those other biggest Marvel films, they all took drops between 65 and 74%. So Captain Marvel taking a 71% drop, that's par for the course. That's standard. I mean, that's what it is. So
yeah.
Anybody who's trying to bring that up as some sort of negative, that right away, you just know they're desperately grasping at straws to find something negative to complain about. So, but whatever, more power to them. All right, what's next?
DC Patience, hope Aladdin goes full Bollywood. Love the trailer.
Does look, there is an interesting shot in the trailer where it looks like they got the big dance number in the street, and it had a little bit of a Bollywood feel to. I'll admit, I would dig seeing something like that in the movie. Maybe not like the whole movie, but I would dig if they threw something like. Do you think they might, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, why not? What a great, colorful, cool thing to do. You know, I love the scene in the movie Fame when all the students go out into the streets of New York and dance to the song Hot Lunch Jam.
All right, what's
There's
next?
a deep cut for you.
There's another T-shirt, Hot Lunch Jam.
That's the song.
Yeah, I know. What's next?
I can sing all the lyrics, too.
Do it. No.
Shaking
All right.
lady, serving lady. Sorry.
Ninja Atrocity TV. Do you think all the dusted characters in Infinity War will return at some point in Endgame?
Absolutely, 100%. Now, we may not physically see them all, but I do believe they all get returned. I think they all get returned. Not necessarily all the characters that died in Infinity War, because some didn't die as a result of the dusting, but I think all of the dusted characters come back. We just may not see them all. Rob, do you think there's an alternative to that?
I don't know, man. I think someone's going to die.
But somebody that got dusted, you think just doesn't come back?
I don't know. I honestly, I have no sense of what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's a nice place to be in. That's a good place for us to be in.
Because we haven't seen a bang trailer. There's not even a shred. There's not even a scrap of what happens in this movie, other than Scott Lang showing up at the Avengers Mansion, presumably to take them into the quantum realm. But we haven't seen that, so we really don't know anything, and I love it. Remember, you used to laugh at me when I said they shouldn't release a trailer at all. Right. Well, they basically released 2 trailers, but they've told us and shown us nothing.
They've shown us very little. They've shown us very little, but they did need to drop the trailers. Although I'm expecting that Boom trailer, though. April 2nd. I expect a Boom trailer April 2nd. We'll see if that actually works out or not. All right, what's next?
Look, someone is going to just be stuck behind a bookshelf with Matthew McConaughey, just floating around.
They'll work that all in.
Yeah. Russell P. Hawley is running like 3 shows and 2 movies. Crazy.
What's the third show? I know he's clearly doing Legion. He's doing Fargo. I don't know what the other one is. Yeah. But yeah, this is a man who's keeping himself very busy, no doubt. All right, what's next?
Paul M. Excited for Lion King, but have 0 interest in Dumbo.
Yeah, I think that I've come across a number of people who don't have a lot of interest in Dumbo. I will admit I don't have a high level of interest in Dumbo, although I think the trailers have looked very endearing. And I'm curious about the film, but I don't have a high level interest. Not unlike Lion King, which I cannot wait to see Lion King. Rob, how's your interest teetering there?
Well, Tim Burton is very hit and miss for me. I mean, I've got a soft spot in my heart for him. I mean, I've loved ever since Pee-wee's Big Adventure, his debut film, and then Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands and Batman. I love that Tim Burton, but then sometimes he does things like Alice in Wonderland. And I gotta say that everything about Dumbo looks good to me. I mean, even the way it's shot, to me, the Dumbo trailer has the magic that the Aladdin trailer was missing, if that makes any sense at all.
It had a sense of heart to it, too.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, that doesn't mean the movie will, but it feels good to me. I want to see Dumbo.
All right, let's move on. What's next?
If I had a kid, I'd go to Dumbo, but I don't know if I'd go alone. Aaron Sterlinsky. It's 2025. Apple buys Disney and renames itself Skynet.
You just wrote a movie right there, Aaron. All on your own. You just wrote the script for a movie that is really eerily quite feasible to actually happen. All right. What's next?
Orange Hand. Thoughts on Band of Brothers and the Pacific?
I don't think I've watched the Pacific. I did enjoy Band of Brothers, though. Rob, do you remember seeing that?
Oh my God, I love them both.
It's considered like one of the great television events that they've done, but I didn't see the Pacific. Does it rank up there with Band of Brothers?
Yeah, it's really, really good. I mean, cool. There are things in both of those. Like there's a scene where they're storming this beach in one of the episodes. Just the logistics. I mean, it's filmmaking at its finest. And then like the Battle of Bastogne when they're in the snow in Band of Brothers. I mean, you realize. I never want to go to war. I never want to be in a situation like that. It's just terrifying. But both of those shows are fantastic.
All right, what's next?
Aaron H. I really hope the next Endgame trailer is Bob Iger and Kevin Feige swimming buck nude in a swimming pool of money. I don't want anything spoiled.
I used to joke all the time when we were heading into the Force. Well, actually, no, when we were heading into the Phantom Menace, and we were talking about the trailers for it back in the day. And I used to say that all the time. Say, look, this trailer could be nothing but George Lucas swimming buck naked in a pool full of money going, oh, you're going to come see my movie. And that's it. That's all you could have done. And it still would have been people. But it would be kind of cool just to have Bob Iger, Alan Horn, and Kevin Feige sitting on the top floor of a giant penthouse overlooking Los Angeles with cigars and glasses of bourbon going, you're coming to watch our movie. And
it's
making us rich.
It's like the end of Boston Legal when Shatner and James Spader used to share a cigar.
That's exactly what I had in mind. I used to love that.
You know what? I think that they should just do a live broadcast where the day that Endgame opens, they should just do that from Bob Iger's office. just have a live feed like this show, and just have them kind of just walking around, just smoking and shaking their heads and looking at each other, smiling, and people bring them food. It'd be great.
It would be fun to see. All right, what's next?
I'll just have a net and just quietly skimming that pool, no one. Phoenix Arising, been playing Fantasy Movie League. How you doing?
I'll be 100% honest with you. I was excited about it. I loaded it up, and I couldn't figure out how to use the app in 3 minutes. I gave it 3 minutes. I tried for 3 minutes to figure out how to properly use the app, and I couldn't figure it out. So I said, screw it. And I deleted it, and I never used it since. And I really wanted to use it. I wanted to set up a fantasy movie league for the John Campea Show viewers, and I wanted to do all this kind of stuff. But I opened it up. It's like, well, they didn't make this, so it's easy to figure out. So screw it. And I just kind of gave up on it. Have you ever used it, Rob?
No, I used to do the old Hollywood Stock Exchange.
Right, I remember that.
You ever do that?
Yeah.
I don't even know if it still exists, but I was obsessed with it for about a year and a half. But
all right.
I don't.
What's next?
Paul M., how does MPAA rate movies? I've seen a couple movies with female and male privates flash on screen. How does that not get an X rating?
Look, you'd have to ask actual members of the MPAA, but I mean, there's certainly like you can't drop the F-bomb more than a couple of times. If you do, then you get an R rating. You can do a little bit of nudity even in PG-13, you can get away with brief nudity. In R, there's a lot you can get away with. But just showing, you can flash something, but you can only do it once or twice. If you do it anymore, then it gets more. I mean, they've got a formula, and I don't know what it is. Is there any kind of like printed document? I don't think there is. It shows it all.
I mean, there are standards and practices, but like if you're showing nudity, but it's not in a sexual context, it's like if you use the F word, and you use it, and it's not in a sexual context. It's just like F you or something.
Yeah, or you drop something on your foot and go F. Yeah.
Yeah. But once you when you show nudity in a sexual context, then it changes. And I mean, an X rating is basically when you're showing making love on screen. It's that's where you're going to get the X. But just nudity, and it's degrees of it.
Yeah. It's degrees. All right. What's next?
Stubble McShave. Richard Burton drank 4 bottles of vodka per day while filming during the 60s. Could anyone get away with that today?
No. And let's be clear. There are a lot of things that men did in the 60s that you couldn't get away with today, and nor should you. A lot of things men have done in the 2000s that men got away with that you can't get away with now, nor should they. But no, there was an era where the bad behavior was celebrated. Well, look, as a matter of fact, just look at something like even the trailer for the Motley Crue thing, right? Like there was an era in rock and roll where like the really screwed up, messed up crap that they used to do, not just Motley Crue, but like the rock scene was actually celebrated. It was just commonplace. Say, yeah, rock band pulls into town, get one of their roadies to pull 5 or 6 female fans out of the audience and bring them back to the dressing room, blah, blah, like, and then, and trash hotels and damage people's property and celebrate substance abuse and blah, blah, blah. But that was the era. They celebrated that. And now we look at that today and go, wow, we were really screwed up. We were really screwed up. And don't just point your fingers at the rock musicians, because I think they get scapegoated in this. Fact is, all of us, we treated it like something to be celebrated. And I think the same things back in the day and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff people used to get away with that you can't get away with today, nor should you be able to get away with today. So anyway, that's just kind of my thought on that. All right, what's next?
Paul M., believing that Captain Marvel was the only on to time travel was nonsense. Only one to time travel was nonsense. Technically, Doctor Strange time traveled, so it was clear to me that it didn't make sense.
Doctor Strange didn't really... You're getting into a game of semantics, but Doctor Strange doesn't necessarily time travel. Like, there's something he does with time. He can look into the future. He can look into the past. He can do... But he doesn't just... Hey, you know what, guys? I'm going to go back to... watch the first dinosaur egg hatch. See you in a bit.
Right.
It's so again, maybe we're getting into semantics a bit, but I Doctor Strange doesn't time travel per se. Why not just go, oh, well, we're crash landing on this planet, and so the Maw caught me. well, I'm just going to go back in time and do it a different way so he doesn't catch me next time. Like, it's a little bit different, but yeah, they played a good one on us with that Samuel Jackson quote about Captain Marvel being a time traveler. I thought that was really good. It was a very good misdirect. All right, what's next?
Igby is horrible. Finally got my first in my FML job league. We bought a WWF belt to parade about with the winner. Somewhere there's a Best Buy customer thinking, man, these guys are weird. Make an FML.
So FML, of course, is Fantasy Movie League. And again, maybe I should give it another shot. Because maybe it would be fun, Robert, to set up on the John Campea Show like a John Campea Show viewer fantasy movie league.
Yeah.
And we can all participate. I just remember getting frustrated with it. Now, Grant, I didn't spend a half hour. I have very short patience. So I looked at it for about 3 minutes and like, okay, I don't know how to do this. So, and I threw it away. And I moved on to do something else. But maybe it would be fun to do that. But that's great. I love that you guys even got a belt for it. That's great. All right, just time for a couple more here. What's next?
Chanel Hope in Game of Thrones. No,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy, sorry. The Kree were going through intense change, treaty with Alexander, Ronan, going rogue, etc. Geez, Captain Marvel was busy.
Yeah, some people are speculating that maybe in a Captain Marvel 2, we get Ronan maybe as the villain. And, maybe Captain Marvel 2 will be set in between time periods, like in between when it happens in the 90s and in between today. Mm-hmm. That's all possible, but now you've got a hero that knows what happens to her, and you'll have a villain that what happens to him, because we know, Captain Marvel doesn't put away Ronan because he's still around when Guardians of the Galaxy happens. I mean, there's still a lot you could do, but I see that as iffy. Do you think there's a way to do it, Rob, or do you think that's just too much?
No, I look, there's a way to do anything. I think it'd be interesting to see, because the question rises, well, why hasn't Nick Fury called Captain Marvel before? Like when New York was being attacked by the Chitauri and Loki.
Yeah.
Why? And I think that there's a lot of ground you can cover, but there's a lot going out happening in the galaxy, and I'm sure Captain Marvel was a very busy woman.
All right. What's next?
Sorry, Chanel, I had Game of Thrones on the brain. Paul M, maybe spoiler. Did the snap affect the Skrulls?
I don't think that's a spoiler. Yeah, look, the snap affected everybody. Everybody who's in the universe, half of them are gone. And that includes Kree, that includes Skrulls, that includes, if there's any survivors on Xandar, that includes anybody and everybody. They're gone. So, yep, they're not immune to that. All right, 2 more questions, and we'll call it a day.
The Darman, thank you for inspiring me to start my own channel. I did a Captain Marvel review and got called a shit.
Well, that's probably saying shill. Probably got called a shill.
Yeah,
because there are pathetic losers out there that if you like something they don't. That's the weak, loser word to pull out. Like anybody who uses that word is a loser, and there you go. So don't worry about it. But I'm glad you're doing your own channel. The movie fan community needs more voices on it, and offering their thoughts and sharing their fandom with everybody. So I'm glad that you're really doing that. All right, last question of the day.
NPE 94. If DVDs are discontinued, will filmmakers still produce special features like director's commentary and behind-the-scenes features on a film's production?
I believe so, because, and it's not the filmmaker's choice. That'll be the distributors are saying, okay, you got to do this. Because I think these are popular things. And I used to be worried about the future of special features, but then more and more digital streams have starting to be including them in stuff like that. Like my Infinity War digital stream has all the bonus feature stuff. So yeah, I think because they know, look, you're trying to talk somebody into spending $20 on a movie they've probably already seen. So you got to throw in a little bit more to incentivize the audience to want to go out there and grab. It's like, hey, get this movie you love, and you're going to hear the director talking all about it, some behind the scenes, the deleted stuff, some blooper, blah, blah, blah. Like it's a more value add to entice the viewer to go and buy the product. And as long as it's a value add, I think they're going to still put it in. Rob, you've worked a lot in like making this type of content. Do you think it still has a future?
I think the future is bleak for special features. I mean, they always have to shoot something because they need to promote the film. But I've watched the business get chipped away. I mean, the days of the kind of money that we used to get and the kind of it went away. I mean, I can give you a simple reason for that. So I worked on Superman Returns, and I did a 3-hour documentary on the making of the movie. When the movie came out, Walmart demanded, because Walmart at the time sold almost half of all physical media that was sold in the world, half the DVDs.
Right.
And they wanted a vanilla only, a movie only edition with no special features of Superman Returns, in addition to the special features. The movie only version of Superman Returns outsold the special edition 8-2. So for every 10 that were sold, 8 of them were the non-special featured version. So only 20% of the people who bought Superman Returns bought the special edition with my documentary on it.
Which I assume was probably a little bit more expensive.
It was a little bit more expensive, yes. It has second disc. And that's, they found out that special features, as much as we love them, because we're the community that does, the general audiences don't care that much. So they cut back, and it's very seldom now that it's sometimes if you have something that's director driven, you'll be able to create special features. But for the most part, unless it's a special company like Shout Factory or something, there's just not much being done anymore.
All right, guys. That will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Now, for the rest of you guys who still have outstanding questions that are there on the board waiting to be answered, Mr. Hero, Apex, Jason Alexander, all the way down, don't worry, a little bit later today, I'm going to put up another video called the Companion Video, and I'm going to answer all those questions you guys sent in a video that will go up later today, so keep your eyes open for that. I want to thank the people here with me doing the show today. First of all, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you? And apparently, all the spoilers from Captain Marvel.
Oh man, I'm so sorry about that. I feel terrible. You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnettwork, or find me on my website at theburnettwork.net.
And of course, Ashley Whalen's here. Ashley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on my Twitter at AshAttack1, or my Instagram is Ashley Whalen with 2 Y's in my first name.
And you guys can, of course, follow me on Instagram, simply at John Campea. And guys, make sure you go and visit the newly relaunched thejohncampeashow.com website. And once again, that's where you go and submit your topics and questions. And if you want to see your topic or question be one of the main topics here on the show. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is John Campea, and until our next video, bye-bye.